We love cake so much we decided to make it a full-time business. For me, Sammy.
And me, Bronya.
Join us on our journey of discovery as we meet fellow cake professionals, artisan cake makers and home bakers who will give tips and advice on the Business of Cake Making podcast, glitter included.
Follow us on Instagram and listen to us on Spotify, iTunes, Podbean, or wherever you listen to your podcast. Sign up to our newsletter and visit the blog at daisycakecompany.co.uk.
Hello, Bronya.
Hello, Sammy. How are you?
Well, I'm very well, thank you. Shall I introduce today's guest?
Please do. Very excited.
Yes, yeah. Well, we met Natalie at the Cake and Bake show and we interviewed you very briefly, but we're lucky enough to have you as a guest today, especially as you're in Lanzarote.
Very nice. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. So Natalie runs a company called The Safety Expert as a chartered environmental health officer, a food safety advisor, trainer and content creator. And before that, she worked as an environmental health officer. We find that environmental health can be sometimes a bit scary, especially when first setting up a business when you are expecting your EHO visit. So Natalie is going to be answering some of our questions to put us at ease, hopefully. So hello again.
Hello.
Would you be able to tell us a bit about your background and why you are so passionate about health and safety?
Yeah, of course. So my background, I qualified as an environmental health officer in 2011, a long time ago now, after having completed the MSc in environmental health at the University of Birmingham. And then I've gone on to work for a whole range of local authorities, so a couple of London boroughs and district councils as well, working as an environmental health officer. So I would be that person going out, doing food hygiene inspections of a whole range of businesses, including home baking businesses, issuing food hygiene ratings. Probably worth mentioning that that's just like sort of part of the role. The role of environmental health officer is so varied. Food hygiene inspections are just a part of it.
So you were in London boroughs, because they're usually quite busy, aren't they, the London boroughs?
Yes, London boroughs are very busy. One of the ones that I worked at was particularly busy.
Right.
But it was really good fun. I love being busy all the time anyway. There was always something happening. There was quite a lot of closures of food businesses.
Wow.
Probably at least a couple a month.
Wow.
I think just not necessarily because standards are lower, but just there's such a huge volume of businesses in a very condensed area. So yeah, challenging, busy, but good fun.
Yeah, I expect as well a lot of businesses open and close quite quickly, don't they?
Yeah, there's a massive sort of turnover of businesses. You can walk along a high street one week, you'll see a new business that's opened, and then the next week, but a few months later, that business could have completely gone, changed hands again, rebranded. There is a very high sort of turnover of businesses. I think it can be difficult setting up and running a food business, to be honest.
It certainly is.
Yeah, I agree.
Right, so let's start with the absolute basics. In order to sell cakes and bakes from home business, we should be registered. We legally have to be registered with our local council. How do we do that? And how soon after registering can we actually make cakes?
Yeah, great question. So the easiest way to register a food business is online. So you can do this on the .gov website. If you just literally type into Google food business registration, probably the first link that will come up is to the .gov website, and you can just put in your business postcode and complete the registration process from there, and then it will go through to your local authority. Alternatively, if you go onto your local authority's website, most of them will have a page where you can download a food business registration form. If you prefer to print a form off, fill it in by hand, and then you can email it or post it to them. But I'd say the easiest way is online. And then You can start operating straight away. You don't need to wait for your food hygiene inspection. Probably worth mentioning, technically, as the law goes, you're meant to register at least 28 days before you plan to start trading.
Right.
So if someone hasn't started their business yet and they've still got enough time to do that, then I would register the 28 days before. Let's say a business is trading already, but they haven't registered. Don't panic, just register straight away. Most local authorities are quite flexible with this 28 days before.
Right.
But it's just technically you are meant to do it 28 days before. So if you can, then,
and it's free as well. There's no charge
best.
to record to registering, is there? It's completely free.
Completely free, and registration can't be refused either.
Oh, interesting. Oh, never knew that. Oh,
No,
okay.
I didn't know that either.
Okay.
When the EHO comes to visit, what can we expect to happen, and how long does a visit take?
Okay, so normally a visit would take about an hour for a home baking business that's say making cakes from home. Inspections of other types of businesses may take longer, but for a home baking business, I'd say shouldn't be longer than an hour.
Right.
And what to expect. So the officer will have made an appointment.
Yeah.
If you're operating from a private address, they need to make an appointment.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll know they're coming. So you're going to have a little bit of time to prepare as well.
Yeah.
First and foremost, I mean, I can kind of describe how I would approach this type of inspection. I would go in, you'd always try and make small talk with the business owner. You know that people can be nervous.
Yeah.
So sort of just ask some questions, show an interest in their business. And then I would normally sit down, and there's normally like a dining table or something in the kitchen area. And then I would first of all just want to get a bit more of an understanding about exactly what they're doing and what their process is. Right. So then that's kind of the business's opportunity just to explain literally what they do. You just need to tell someone what you do. So the type of cakes you make, maybe sort of the frequency that you're producing the cakes, and maybe just if the officer wants to know, just an overview of your process as to how, from when you receive an order, quickly through the steps of how you make the cake and then how you serve it to your customer. That's good just to get an understanding and an overview. And then I would start looking through the food safety paperwork. So, for example, food safety management system. So for a home baking business, they would probably be using the Safer Food, Better Business Pack. So I would have a look through this and check, have all of the relevant parts been filled in? Officers know that not all of this pack is relevant to every type of business, and especially for home baking businesses. So they're not going to expect you to have filled in the parts that aren't relevant. Right. But I would expect the business to have gone through, filled in the relevant bits, and any bits that aren't relevant, just I'd say put a not applicable either in the box or at the top of the page, just to show that you've read it.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to also be comparing what it says in this pack to then what the business owner is explaining to me throughout the inspection. So is what they're telling me, does it reflect what it says in this pack? Because the pack is almost your food safety procedures. Are you actually doing what it says in here? And the reason this is going to be more of a description is in a food business where they're operating at the time, you can look at what it says in the pack and you can physically see what the staff are doing in practice. With a home baking business, it's harder, which is why a lot of it's going to come down to the business owner explaining what they do. So once I've looked through the pack, I'll look at the diary at the back. So is that up to date? Is it being completed correctly? I mean, it's fairly straightforward to complete, but if you've ticked to say you've done your opening checks, then you need to have actually done the opening checks, such as checking the fridge temperatures and those things. Some businesses will have like a separate sheet where they record fridge temperatures. So if the business owner does, then we'll have a look at that as well. Allergen information for the products, possibly, depending on how the business owner chooses to provide that information to their customers. They may have like an allergen matrix for their cakes, possibly. You can show that to the officer. Food hygiene training certificate. So the easiest way to demonstrate that you've done food hygiene training is to have a certificate, and it would be recommended at least level 2 in food safety for catering.
And you have to update that every now and then, don't you?
Yeah, it's recommended refresher every 3 years.
Yeah.
So it's not a legal requirement, but it's a recommendation.
Right. Okay. That's interesting. I thought you had to do it, but that's fine. I would rather have it up to date. I would rather have it there up to date, ready to show someone.
Things change, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Things do change.
Yeah.
Only other bits of paperwork that the officer may want to see would be possibly your order book if you have one.
Right.
You may not want to see it, but it's good to have it close by just in case. And then receipts and invoices for your ingredients. Again, they may not want to see them, but if you've got them ready, you've not got to be panicking, rushing around trying to find them or pulling out a carrier bag of receipts when the officer's there and you're under pressure. So just have them sort of neatly organised. That's the paperwork side. Then I'd have a look around the kitchen. So in terms of food hygiene stuff, so fridge, how is the fridge organised? Is there a separate fridge for the business and for the family? Or is it managed in a different way? You can use the same fridge, but you need to be able to explain to the officer how you're keeping things separate, maybe separate shelves, containers, etc. Hand washing facilities, which I think we might talk about in a bit more detail in a bit. Sinks for washing up, dishwasher for washing up. Is there a hot and cold water supply? Hopefully there is in someone's kitchen. General cleaning. And the officer isn't expecting a commercial kitchen. They get it's your home. But it still needs to be clean and a good state of repair. Which I think for most people in their homes, they are in a good state of repair.
You'd hope so, wouldn't you?
Yeah, exactly. We talked about fridges. Fridge temperature, the officer may check the temperature of your fridge.
Right.
Or if you've got a thermometer in the fridge, you can show that to them.
Yeah.
And they may have a look at that. Cleaning materials. So have you got sanitizer or antibacterial spray to clean your food preparation surfaces? This is something that some officers require and some don't for home baking businesses. So there's a British standard, BS-EN 1276 or BS-EN 13697 for the sanitizer to comply with.
Yeah.
For most food businesses, the officer always expects this.
Right.
But this is where businesses are handling higher risk foods, so raw meats, raw vegetables, things like that.
Yeah.
For home baking businesses, some officers don't require you to have one that meets this British standard because you're making cakes, you're not handling raw meat and stuff like that. But from my perspective, I would say just get one that does, because they're not even any more expensive.
No, that's right.
If you're going to buy cleaning stuff, you might as well buy.
Yeah, and I always I have my designated area in my kitchen that I work at, but every now and then I'll come in and one of the boys is making a ham sandwich there, and I'm like, no, that's my zone. So I think it's better to be safe than sorry.
I can imagine you 100%. Doing that.
Yeah, few get out of my kitchen.
It's great that you've got a dedicated area as well. It's a good way of managing things.
Yeah. So when you talk about paperwork, because there's the Safer Food, Better Business pack. I know there are other packs that other cake makers have put together and they sell online and things like that, because not everything is applicable. But another thing that I often see people asking about is, you're talking about receipts. Now, I know some people, they do whole lists of when they've had something in, the batch number, all the rest of it. Now, many years ago, when I had a place, we looked at supplying, I think it was Waitrose. It was their farm shop. And they wanted me to go through the salsa system, which was a lot of, traceability, putting things in a separate area, making sure everything was. But for home business, do we need to be doing that? Do we need to actually be recording everything that comes through the door and putting it down on a piece of paper somewhere?
So in my experience of what most EHOs would be looking for a home baking business, they're not going to expect you to have that level of detail. Now, if you want to, and you've got a system in place that works, there's no reason not to use it.
Yeah.
But in my experience, EHO isn't going to be requiring you to go into that level of detail.
Yeah.
As long as you've got some basic traceability, for example, if Tesco's recalled something that you bought, and you know if you've got the receipts and so on, you've got some way of roughly tracing it back, that is generally going to be acceptable.
Right. Because I mean, sorry, Sammy, go on.
That's actually, for me personally, that's quite easy to do, because I do my accounts monthly and I file them in their folders, because you have to keep them for so long. I don't know how many years. So if you came in, I could go, you wanted February, I'd just go to February and pull them all out, and all my receipts would be in there. And plus as well, I record them onto Bake Diary. Yeah. As well.
But I mean, I know some people that they really panic that, they're writing batch numbers and all the rest of it. And
I know someone who does that.
And I'm like, I've been doing this for 15 years and I've never done it. And that's part of the reason why we didn't do the salsa in the end, because the amount of paperwork involved wasn't worth the effort for the amount of trade it was actually going to give us. So we kind of we bounced it off and went, there's
because we don't buy in bulk either.
Yeah, and we'd have to be working. We was going to have to put modifications into the bakery to have separate storage, and I'm like, you know what, this isn't worth it. But I've never actually written down. I've never got my shopping in and then started writing lists. I've just put the receipts away. So it's good to know that I'm not completely wrong.
Yeah, no, I think if a business is wanting to, if let's say they're aspiring to start supplying supermarkets or something like that, then maybe it's a good practice to get into. But the supermarkets, and for these SARS accreditations, they require a much higher standard than the law requires anyway. So I think it depends what direction someone wants to take their business as well. Like, what's their ultimate goal?
Yeah, that wasn't ours. So.
What common thing as bakers that we should do, we don't do? Is there something that bakers constantly make the same mistake?
I'm trying to think.
Oh, that's good. If you've got to think of an answer, we're obviously doing it right.
It's not so bad.
In my experience, sort of home bakers are so diligent. I think a lot of people get very nervous about the inspection, so they're actually very prepared,
right?
From the EHO's perspective, and they really care and they're very diligent about everything. So I don't think I've ever gone to inspect a home baker where they didn't have everything that was needed. I mean, there's been a couple of situations where the business has not realised that they needed a food safety management system.
Right.
So that probably is maybe the biggest mistake area, is a home baking business not realising that they need something such as Safer Food, Better Business.
Right.
And that can be quite detrimental to the inspection, because if you don't have a documented food safety management system in place, you're going to struggle to get more than a 1 out of 5 for the food hygiene rating.
Right.
Yeah. So is that tend to be the thing that does knock people's rating down? Is the paperwork or lack of paperwork?
It's the lack of paper. I think across the board for any type of business, I would say in my experience, that is the main reason.
Right.
For a low rating. Quite often businesses don't realise that they need the paperwork, or how heavily the scheme is weighted on the paperwork.
Because it shows that you've been adhering to the safety standards, I guess. So you need that to make sure that we're doing it. I've got a sheet that isn't from the Better Business Pack and it has a list of like my opening and it's designed for me. That's okay, isn't it?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. So this is, I suppose, equivalent to like the diary part of SFBB with your own opening and closing checks.
Yeah.
So if you've got something that works better for you, That's fine. As long as you're checking the key things: is your fridge operating at a safe temperature?
Yeah.
Have you got hot water each day? Have you got hand soap?
Yeah.
Facilities for drying hands. All of those key things you'd need to check. Whatever format it's in, it doesn't matter as long as you're doing the checks.
Yeah.
And you've got those things in place.
Yeah, I have, for sure.
So you talked about earlier about the level 2 in catering, food safety, which is actually relatively easy to do. I mean, it doesn't take hours. You don't have to study for years or anything like that. It's relatively easy. And it's not actually that expensive either, because anyway, is there anything else that you recommend we do? So I know there are things like allergen and training. So is there any other certificates that you would recommend we had under our belts?
Yeah, so besides the level 2 food safety, allergen training would be useful. The Food Standards Agency does actually offer a free online food allergy training course.
Yeah. Oh, do they? I didn't realise that. That's interesting to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's free. It's a fairly basic course, but it sort of covers the key things that someone running a food business might need to know. If anyone wants to access it, the easiest way to find it, just Google FSA for Food Standards Agency online food allergy training, and it will bring up the page to their course.
Excellent.
And it's free, and you get a certificate at the end as well. So if you've got that to show the EHO as well as your level 2 food hygiene certificate, they're going to be
better.
Even more impressed.
More brownie points.
Sorry, I turned my piece of paper over.
She's making notes. I can see it.
Yeah. Gonna check that out. As someone, so I've got my own fridge, for designated cake fridge. I'm the only person that uses it. Though I do know the boys go in to check to see if there's any cake in there or anything that they can nick. If I don't label the food in there, is this wrong? I date stuff. But as I have a quick turnaround and rotation on the products and I know what's in my fridge, would this be classed as incorrect?
Okay. The key thing is that you're able to keep track of the dates. So when things need to be thrown away by, especially used by dates.
Yeah.
I think if it's just one person working in the business, and therefore you know what each thing is. So you're talking about labeling it with the name of the
yeah.
Like
I'll put the dates on and stuff, but I won't go like I just know where everything is. I know that's vanilla buttercream. I know that's.
I was going to say, things like you've got a bit of buttercream left over, and you don't necessarily say what flavour it is. And
chocolate ganache and things like that.
Yeah, I don't think officers would have an issue with that if you're, during the inspection, able to confidently explain to them how you're managing it. Like you've just explained to us. If you're able to explain your system, and the key thing is you're making sure there's not any food that's going to be past the use by date.
Yeah.
And there's not going to be any risk if it comes to, say, like allergens, for example. If you know what something is and you know what the ingredients are in it, and you can then check from the ingredients list on the original product label, etc. If you can manage all of those things, I don't think the officer would have an issue with it. Of course, if someone wants to label the items, if they're not sure, they might not remember, something like that, then do so. But I think, it sounds like you've got your system. It works for you. You'd be able to explain it confidently to the officer.
Yeah. And I kind of, you have to clean your fridge weekly. Well, I do my weekly anyway. So you know what's in there. You can and I rotate everything. Like I have all my jams in there and my curds. So good answer. Well, I'm happy
good answer.
with that.
Less work for you.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of like a member of many Facebook groups, and you always see people like panicking when they're starting because they've got their EHO and this is like my first. And a question that comes up a lot, and I actually genuinely don't know the answer to this. So it's about taking fridge temperatures. So you have to take your fridge temperatures because everything, has to be at a certain temperature. Do we have to take them every single day, or is it only on bake days when you're doing your opening and closing checks?
Yeah, good question. I see this question a lot as well. So my answer to this is, if you're storing food, if you've got food in your fridge for your business, then you need to be checking the fridge temperature.
Right.
So if you just check the temperatures on the days you're baking, but there's been food in your fridge for a couple of days before and the temperature wasn't at a safe temperature, you're not going to know.
Right.
So any time you've got food in your fridges for your business, I will be checking the fridge temperatures on those days. If there's days where you have nothing in your fridges, then you don't need to check the temperature.
Perfect.
So I'd say days you're storing food and days you're baking.
Right.
If that makes sense.
That does make sense.
I take my temperature every day.
Yeah, but I've seen so many people say, "Oh no, you just have to do it on the days you're baking." I'm like, yeah, but what about the stuff? But yeah,
That's right. Yeah,
good answer again.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think if you've got stuff in the fridge every day,
yeah,
it is better to check the fridge temperature every day.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it dips and sometimes it's higher. I suppose it depends on the temperature of the air outside as well, or how many times you've been in your fridge.
Yeah, how many times people are opening that door.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So we talked about this earlier. Hand washing sinks. Hand washing sinks in a domestic environment. People don't really have them in the kitchen. So should we have a separate a separate sink? What can you recommend? I've actually got a downstairs toilet, which is literally next to the kitchen. So I class that as my hand washing sink.
Okay. So yeah, there's different options because, as you said, in a domestic food business, most people in their home kitchen don't have a designated wash hand basin.
Yeah.
That is what the law requires. So in a commercial food business, there is no excuse. There has to be a separate sink for washing hands and only for washing hands.
Yeah.
No equipment, anything to be stored in there. As I said, there is a little bit of flexibility with domestic food businesses. But this is still a slightly challenging area in terms of, unfortunately, different offices and different councils, there's a bit of discrepancy as to what some will accept. So I've been asked this question quite a few times, and what I tend to do is I give a few different options that a business could use. And then I always caveat it with, you need to just double check with your EHO as to what they're going to accept. Because so let me share a few options. So if you've got a double sink or like a 1.5 sink, that's fairly easy because you could just designate the half or the 0.5 bit for hand washing.
Okay. I didn't realise that. So if you've got like one with that little bit in the middle, that little bit in the middle can be your hand washing. Oh, okay. That's good.
Yeah, set it up with some liquid antibacterial hand soap.
Yeah.
Paper towels, Blue Roll, whatever you're using. That could be what you're using to wash your hands.
Okay.
When you're preparing food for your business.
Yeah.
That's one option. Or double sink, again, fairly easy, half and half. Alternatively, if you've got, say, like a utility room next to your kitchen, which I do at home. I don't bake cakes, but I've filmed some videos at home to use this as an example.
Yeah.
Utility room's right next to the kitchen, and there's a sink in there. So one could be used for hand washing, one can be used for washing equipment.
Right. Yeah.
Other options, so we'll touch on the downstairs toilet. Now, I know some offices who accept this and I know some that don't. And the reason some don't is because it's a toilet and unlikely, but if the toilet was flushed and the door's open, you can get aerosols coming through into the kitchen area. So this could be a reason why some don't accept it. Others will, and I'm guessing, Sammy, in your case, the EHO who did your inspection was okay.
I haven't been inspected yet since I've lived here.
I haven't been either, but we'll go on to that in a minute.
Okay. It may be acceptable, it may not. So I tend to tell people to see if you can think of any other options first. If the sink for the toilet is in like a separate room to the actual toilet, then that would probably be okay. Other options, just create a temporary wash hand basin station. So get a bowl, fill it with warm water, put some liquid hand soap paper towels next to it. You can use that for washing your hands. You'll then just need to each time tip it into the sink, refill it with warm water.
Right.
So you could do that. Final option is to clean and disinfect the single sink after every use. So wash your hands, spray it with your antibacterial spray, clean and disinfect it, then it's ready for washing equipment, and so on throughout. Could be a bit of hassle, but it is another option that would probably be acceptable to the officer. So I think people just need to have a think about each of these different options, see if there's one that might work for them.
So actually talking about the inspection, what we didn't ask with the inspection is how soon and how often can you expect an inspection? Now, I'm going to say I've been in this borough for 4.5 years and I haven't seen anyone. Okay. When I opened my shop, so I was in Hampshire, we were in Test Valley, and the guy was great. I loved him. He was such a nice guy.
He was so nice.
He became a friend, you know. And he popped round before we opened, and we went round some things, and he said, well, you could be doing that. And we didn't even have any furniture in the place. And then he came round a couple of months later when we were open, and then literally 3 years on the dot, he knocked on that door, and there he was. Actually, I think we opened one morning, and Sammy opened the door and went, oh, we've been expecting you. And in he came. And then I went back to working from home, and he came to visit and he was such a nice guy. And so I saw him in the space of 5 years. I think I met him 5 or 6 times.
Okay.
I've been here 4.5 years, not seen anyone. Now, I came here and registered about 6 months before COVID. So that happened. I have a regular phone call or email. Every year I have a phone call or email. Are you still operating? And I'm like, waiting for you. Haven't turned up yet.
Okay.
So, but I mean,
I'm in the same boat because I've lived here since 2020. Again, moved in lockdown. I've been in contact, and I've been contacted by them saying, "Are you still operating?"
Really?
But they've not been to see me. And I've just been to a cake meeting with my cake friends today, and we were all talking about that, and none of them also have had their inspection recently.
I mean, is it that there is a backlog? I mean, to me, I'm not bothered. I know that I've been doing this a long time. And if they walk in the door tomorrow, I know I'll be fine and I can get through it. But I know some new businesses, they really panic and they're like, I want my 5 stars. I want my 5-star rating. How soon should we be expecting? And is 4.5 years excessive?
I shouldn't laugh. So there is, local authorities are struggling with resources, staffing issues, etc. COVID really didn't help. For many local authorities, there was already a backlog of inspections. During COVID, there was a period of time where most local authorities kind of put a hold on food hygiene inspections for a period of time. So that made that backlog even worse. So I think genuinely practically every local authority is struggling at the moment. There's going to be a massive backlog of inspections, a shortage of officers to do the inspections. So I wouldn't be surprised for any business if you're waiting quite a while. It's good news that you've received emails from them asking, are you still operating? Because my first thought was, has maybe your food business registration been lost? But you've got written communication from them, so that's not the case. So I think it is just a case of sitting back and waiting.
I guess we're quite low risk, aren't we? You know, we're not. I've never heard of anyone dying of cake yet. You know.
No, exactly. In terms of the risk rating scheme that local authorities would be using, cake makers would be in the lowest risk category. So they are focusing their efforts at the moment on like the highest risk businesses, whether that's the most poor, like the poor performing businesses, or higher risk businesses that are say nurseries, hospitals, care homes, where they're serving higher risk groups. That's where they're really putting their resources. I think if someone's desperate for their inspection, there's no harm in dropping them an email, just saying, I just want to check, have you definitely received my registration? And do you know roughly when someone may come out? That could
I actually did that when I moved here, because I was like, I haven't heard anything yet. So I did email them, and they said, no, don't worry, we'll be in contact. But that was 2020.
See, I did have one, and I know as a home food business, we should have an appointment made. I understand. But I was out one day. So me and my husband were out, and I had a card through the door saying, sorry, we missed you. And so I phoned them up, and I'm like, are you allowed to do that? And they went, you don't have to let me in, but we just happened to be passing, and we saw that you were on the books and we hadn't been. Now that was 3 years ago, but he did say, don't worry, you didn't have to let me in if I did turn up. I mean, I wouldn't have had a problem, but it's just, I was led to believe that they shouldn't do that for a home business. But yeah, so they've kind of tried to, but I wasn't in at the time, so I didn't get it done.
It's interesting you say that someone did just turn up. That's potentially a little bit naughty.
Right.
The only time I would know like that to happen, or that I would have just turned up at their domestic address, is where for months you've been trying to contact the business owner and you can't get through.
Yeah.
Then you may go and knock just to find out, are you still operating? You wouldn't necessarily say, can I come in and do the inspection now? But you may say, can we make an appointment now?
Right.
Or you may put a calling card through. But that would normally be if you tried to get hold of the business via email, phone, etc., and you haven't been able to. But
I mean, I wasn't
like
phased. I mean, I've been in this business a long time, so I wasn't phased. I think it probably would have freaked out a new business owner a little bit more than me, because I wasn't phased. And they did say, you didn't have to let us in. It was just we were in the area. But I was surprised. It was a bit of like, oh, it was like this little card. Sorry, we've missed you. I was like, oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, that is quite surprising. Although I suppose for a new business, it could at least be a good way of getting it over and done with, and then without having the worry of the night before and maybe not sleeping because you're worried about it. It's just kind of just get it over and done with, really. Some people might prefer that.
Right. Okay. So one last thing. We would like to talk about pets. Again, this is something we see. So I see so many in groups. Can we have dogs? Can we have cats? Are pets allowed?
Yes, pets are allowed. I get asked this question a lot, and people are always really relieved when they realise yes. So all that would be expected is when you're preparing food or cakes for your business, just make sure the pets are out of the kitchen, and then just clean and disinfect any food preparation surfaces and equipment that you're going to be using for your business before you start preparing the food for your business.
And that is across all councils, is it? That's not like some like it, some don't. That is a general yes, they are allowed.
In my experience, yes. I don't know any officer that would say to someone you have to get rid of your cat or your dog. But we have to be very clear, like they can't be seeing pets in the kitchen during the inspection either. Yeah. So you'd need to be very clear to the officer, this is how I work, this is what I do, this is where the pet goes, this is my procedure for cleaning and disinfecting before I start. But of course, if you're saying this and then the cat wanders in and walks across the work surface, that's not going to be too believable. So just make sure, it's very clear what you're doing. And during the inspection, pets are out of the kitchen.
I've got another question for you.
Sorry, we've started now.
That's okay.
What if it's open plan? So like you've got your lounge and your kitchen.
Because my house is it's not completely open plan, but it's quite open plan. I've got my own little cake studio, which is where I am now in the garage. But previously mine was quite open plan. But they kind of came to a line and stopped. They knew where their line was. But I know what you mean. If you can't block them off, what do you do?
Yeah, I'm really lucky. I've got little dogs. They
one on the back. You can probably see one up on the shoulder.
So there is no way that they're coming near any of the surfaces that I'm working on. But like if you have a bigger dog or something like that, and it's open plan, it's a bit more difficult, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's going to be a case by case because it's going to depend on what the officer actually sees in someone's house. But I would say for open plan, like, if there's just another room in the house where you can put the cat or the dog, and shut the door whilst you're making food for your business. I think that's probably what you're going to need to do.
Yeah.
This is just me speaking generally without seeing a specific
That's as well, you can
setup.
tell, can't you, if when you go into a home, whether the animals are crawling all over the surfaces, that sort of thing. You can just tell.
Yeah.
You do get some sort of impression, don't you? I think it's easy to be able to say to the officer, like, even if it's open plan, like, we put the cat or the dog, we shut them in this area.
So, and you can also have a stair gate, can't you, between the main entrance of that room, so they're on the other side of that.
Yeah,
that could be an option as well. I think just as long as there's a clear separation. It's gonna It's difficult without seeing like a specific setup, because let's say the stair gate was very close to the kitchen. Most officers though, like, they're going to be happy to work with a business as well. So even if there's something you're doing that's not quite right, they're going to be able to give you advice as well. And not everything will affect the food hygiene rating. If you haven't got the paperwork, it's definitely going to have an impact. But some smaller things won't necessarily affect the rating. There'll be things that they can just give you advice on.
Right. So I mean, I know when we were opening the shop and the REHO in Test Valley, and he came, so the shop was empty. It had no kitchen equipment in it. I think it had the sink and that was it. It had no furniture upstairs. We were still building the counter. And he was great. He came in and he was like, gave us all this advice before. And it was like, let's do this before you start the business, before you start the build. Let's do all this advice now. And that was so helpful. And I know people get really scared about EHOs, but I had such a good experience with him. It kind of puts your mind at rest that they actually do want to help. They don't want to shut you down.
I'd love to have an EHO like you, Natalie, come along.
So many people say that. I think though, just to touch on the point about you say you had an advice visit beforehand. This is what I say to sort of some home food businesses, is that hopefully when the officer rings you to make the appointment for your inspection, on that phone call, just use that as an opportunity. Like, you can't ask them every single question under the sun, but if there's a couple of things that you're not sure about that you want to make sure you've got right before the inspection, just if it's the officer that's ringing you, which most of the time it will be, just ask them on the phone. So for example, the wash hand basin situation, if you've got a rough idea of what you're going to do but you want to just check they're going to be happy with it, just say, this is what I'm currently doing for hand washing, I've thought it through, this is what I'm currently doing, well, is this acceptable to you? And then you would know before they even come and do the inspection. And if they say no, actually I prefer you to do this, then you've got a bit of time to get that in place.
Yeah. Excellent advice. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. We probably could sit and actually have a million more questions. But
we'll have to do another podcast.
Definitely.
It was so easy to write the questions. Sometimes you're like, I don't know what questions to ask. But it was like, boof, boof, boof. I just write them all down.
Right. So if you could let our listener know where they can find you online, socials, what you offer, how you can help them, all that kind of thing.
Yes. So I'm very active on Instagram. I'm always posting food safety tips and advice to help small businesses. So if you want to find me on Instagram, it's _safety_expert. I also, through my website, offer an online video-based level 2 food hygiene course. Consists of pre-recorded videos taught by me, so you can learn in your own time, and at the end you achieve your level 2 food hygiene certificate. So that's offered through my website. The website is www.thesafetyexpert.co.uk.
I love your Instagram posts.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
As long as people find them helpful and useful, then I'm happy. That's what it's all about.
So do you do consulting do you do consulting as well, or is it that sort of like for bigger businesses usually rather than the home?
So I've done consultancy for many years, mainly for larger businesses.
Yeah.
So in-house auditing, in-house training. I occasionally do some sort of one-to-one advice sessions with small business owners, for example, over Zoom, which I charge a small fee for. I don't massively advertise it just because I only have a certain number of hours in the day, and there's so many sort of different things to do with running the business. But that's something I do occasionally as well. But the main focus is the video-based food hygiene training, and I'm planning to create more video-based courses as well. So one on how to get your 5-star food hygiene rating, one on literally step-by-step how to complete safer food, better business.
Wow.
So these are a couple I'm thinking of creating. So if it's of interest to any of your listeners, if they want to just let me know, drop me a message on Instagram. The more people that say they want these products, then the quicker I'm going to create them.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming and chatting. We could be here all afternoon. And we will. I think we will see you again at some time.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, or maybe we could do an allergens one.
Yes,
could do. Get all your questions together, and we'll plan that for a couple of months.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Natalie. And enjoy the rest of your time in the warmth.
I will do.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Speak soon.
Thank you so much for having me. Take care. Bye.
So I really enjoyed that. Natalie Stanton from The Safety Expert was a good guest.
Yeah, I think she's going to be a guest again. She was so good. And you know how sometimes you get guests on and it's just lovely to sit and chat to them. I just wanted to probe. I just wanted to ask more questions.
That's a good thing to answer. Just wanted to temperature probe. Oh no, that sounds wrong. No, I take that. Just edit that out.
I mean, some people you're happy to just sit and chat and natter away. Yeah. But with her, I just like and about what about this, and then what about that?
And I kept thinking about other questions as well. That can't keep asking questions.
But no, she was, and I'm very jealous that she's in. Where is she? Lanzarote,
I think she said.
I know she said it wasn't hot, but it can't be as miserable as here.
Yeah. Bone cold here.
Yeah, just talking about that, bone cold. So hopefully we will get Natalie back at some point, but I do hope that this one has been useful for people.
Yeah. I think an allergies one would be good as well, because there's some grey areas, even though I know my allergies and I've got them up on the wall. Every now and then I think, oh, raisins, have they got that enzyme on them and things like that?
You are about some
stuff. Sulfates.
Bless you.
Isn't that one of the allergens?
I think so.
Sulfates.
That's an affliction you have.
Yeah.
It's like we've got someone coming at work. I think Thursday. We're doing a big thing at work, and someone said they have a nut allergy. And of course, I went into like, oh my god, if she's got a nut allergy, she can't eat anything here, and all this. So then I've spoken to them, and they're like, oh no, I just can't eat it, but I can be in the same room as it, or I can. Yeah. It's like, then I think the whole nut allergy it terrifies me really. Yeah. If someone says they have a nut allergy, I'm like, no, I'm just not dealing with you.
Yeah.
Because
I don't do severe nut allergies. I say there are nuts in my kitchen. Yeah. As well as nuts. Boom, boom. But the other day I had, I did a cake for a friend, and halfway through baking it, they said, there's somebody with a severe nut allergy. And I'm like, oh my God. So the lengths I went to make sure it was all right. But it turns out it was a baby who wouldn't be eating the cake anyway.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
But I know it was a severe nut allergy, but it was a cake without nuts in it anyway. Yeah. But, anyway.
But, I mean, I know there are some people that they just have to go near. Right, so there's a thing, there's an Instagram profile I follow, and it's actually a dog, right? So it's a dog that sniffs out something that someone's allergic to. And it's, I don't know whether it's a nut or whatever, but they sniff out the allergy. And someone picked, I think they touched a cupboard and then put their hand down and the dog sniffed it. And the dog was like, no, you can't eat because it was on the hand.
Wow.
Yeah. And to have a dog, it's like a sniffer dog because your allergy is so bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sniffer dog because they're cute, but you know.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're lucky there are creatures out there that can help us.
Yeah, we are lucky to have dogs. We are definitely lucky to have dogs. But no, Natalie was fantastic.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I've asked questions that I was like, I don't know. So I'm really pleased. And I'm pleased to know that whilst 4.5 years is quite a long time, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah. And if you have any questions, maybe for a future podcast about allergens, let us know, because it would be nice to have our listeners' point of view.
Yeah, sort of like put some of their questions to, their queries.
Definitely, because it's so diverse.
Yeah, we haven't done a Q&A for a while as well, actually. We haven't done a Q&A. Maybe we should.
Maybe we should.
If anyone's got questions, ask us. We'll do a Q&A. Hey, let's just plan the podcast on the spot, on the podcast. Right, okay. Are we ready?
Oh, we are. Do you know sometimes you sing songs in the car? The other day I started singing Product of the Week in the car. I was like, what?
That's so funny.
Anyway,
it's like an earworm. It gets in your head.
It gets in your head. Anyway, time for Product of the Week. Product of the Week. It's time for Product of the Week. Can I go first?
Right.
Can I go first?
First. Go on then.
Okay, I'm just going to move this because I have to go into my screen.
That was Sammy's microphone she's moving. So if you can't hear her now, it's because she's put it on the floor.
Yeah, I'll come closer. Right. Okay, so it's not a product of the week per se, but it is kind of. So I'm a member of Susan Esper Cake School on Facebook, and she did a live video on Sunday, which I missed, and I was quite sad about it. So I sat down last night and watched it, and it was just so nice to watch. She's so lovely, and they've got a new product.
She's got a really soothing voice, isn't she?
Oh my God, yeah, and she's just so organised. I know she would, if she listens to this, and she'd go, oh, no, I'm not. But yeah, she's just calm, and she knows what she's doing. So they've got a new product, a Lily abstract stencil, and she was demoing this product, and I learnt so much about how to lay. So she panelled a square cake.
Right.
And she did the stencil in royal icing and showed you how to put the royal icing on and how to attach the panelling. And then she did that in black with white royal icing. So
did she do the stencil and then put the panel on the cake?
Yeah. But she's going to do another video later on to demo doing it on the cake as well.
Right.
And then she did the panelling method on a round cake, and she lay the sugar paste out. She dusted it so it had like a peach shimmer on it, and then she did the royal icing on it. She gave you lots of tips. She did the stenciling and then applied it to the cake. Not only was the tutorial absolutely brilliant, the product as well is stunning. So I haven't got the product yet. I think I will be purchasing it, but I can highly recommend Suzanne Esper Cake School. I'm pretty sure it's I'm not sure if it's a Facebook group I'm a part of, but if you click on her page, you'll find it. And the live is there, because I've just gone into her page and clicked on it.
Yeah, I've often looked at like stenciling, people that stencil and then put it on the cake. So I'm always like, I would smudge it, I would get it everywhere, but maybe I need to go and
watch this video, because she shows you how to do it, and she actually lets it dry, because you'd think, it's all going to crack off. But
yeah. See, that's what.
No,
I used to watch the Evil Cake Genius doing it all the time. And I'm like, well, how is it so flexible? Okay, I need to go and watch. So Suzanne Esper Cake School.
Yeah. And she did it live on Sunday. There
Okay.
there are other lives on there as well, because I've watched her before.
Yeah. Well, this would be a Sunday weeks, because by the time this goes out, it might be a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah. She was doing a giveaway as well, which is why I wanted to watch it on Sunday, because you know me, I love a competition. But I forgot about it. I started tidying my bedroom, and that was that.
Oh, and I do like Susanna, so I'm going to go and watch that.
Yeah.
That's definitely what I'm going to watch.
We'd love to have her on as a guest, but I think we will in the future, won't we?
Yes, we have spoken to her. We spoke to her at Cake International, so fingers crossed.
I've emailed her a few times as well.
Oh, okay,
So, yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I know they're busy though. Yeah, we are busy mates.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Mine. Now I've done this. I know I've done this before, and I think you have done it before as well. And people are going to roll their eyes at me again, going, "Oh, for God's sake, not that again!" But this is very specific. So I'm going to go again with Canva.
Oh yeah, I love Canva.
Right. So I'm going to go with the Canva Professional, because I messaged you about this the other day. I got really excited. I'm like, "Oh my God, it does
you
this!"
did? Yes, yeah. And I actually went in and had a look, and I agree.
Right.
I think I used it as well.
It's brilliant. So Canva Professional has got a content planner. So
I did use it.
It's so good. So if you're doing something on Canva, so say you're doing an Instagram, it doesn't support Reels and it doesn't support Stories yet. But if you're doing something, say an Instagram post or a Facebook post or a pin, because I've been doing quite a few pins, you can do your thing, your pin or your post, and then when you go to save it or share it, you can schedule it on Pinterest, Instagram. You can also do it on TikTok, but then it takes you to the TikTok app. So it will do it on all, and Instagram. So all of them, and you can schedule it, and then you can schedule it in advance, and you can put in a title, you can put in the description. On Instagram, you can't tag people. So that's one thing you can't do, but it does everything else. And then you schedule it. And then when you go to the apps, it has a content planner and it has a calendar, and it will show you everything that's coming up and where you've scheduled it to.
Yeah.
Blew my mind. Just blew my mind.
I didn't know about that last part, but when you told me, I actually went in and I have scheduled a post.
Have you?
For February.
Yeah. So you know, when you go back to the homepage, you go to apps, there's a content planner, and it will bring up a calendar on the screen, and you can see where you've scheduled things into it. Brilliant. And the other thing is that when you go into, if you're making a post, if you go into the apps there and you attach your Instagram to it, so you go to the Instagram app and then you can log in through Canva onto your Instagram. You know when you're doing a post and you want to put a picture in it, you can take things directly from your Instagram feed and put them in a post, and it doesn't have the Instagram watermark. So if you've done a reel and then you want to share that reel somewhere else, but you don't want the Instagram watermark, use the app on Canva, and it just takes it off like a piece of media, like a photo or a video, and it won't put the watermark on it. So you can then repurpose all your posts from Instagram, and then you can schedule them into Facebook or Pinterest and put them all on the content planner. So it's Canva Professional is $12.99 a month or $99.99 a year. I think Canva is the best money I spend in my business for marketing. I use it so much. Yeah,
it's really good.
Yeah, I use it for everything. So if you're watching this on YouTube, all the stuff around the outside I've done on Canva. Hello on YouTube. So all the bits and pieces around the outside I've done on Canva. I do reels on Canva. I just do so much on Canva. But this, blew my mind. Content planner. What? So you don't have to buy later or whatever. You can do it all on Canva.
Like it.
Yeah. So that's it.
All right. Okay then.
Okay.
Goodbye.
All right, abrupt.
Do you know what? Whilst we were talking then, I'm like, why is Bronya shouting? You're so loud. It's not. I put my microphone on the volume button and you turned you out.
Sorry to have shouted. Didn't mean to. So as always, please like, subscribe, rate, review, go and join our follow and join our Instagram, Business of Cake Making. We're on Instagram. Check out our blog, daisycakeandco.com.
Yeah.
Send us a message and we will read it out. What was that?
I keep going. Yep. Yeah.
Send us a message and we will read it out on an episode.
Lovely to hear your voices.
And we've hit 50k.
Woohoo! 50k downloads.
50k downloads. So on that high, we are going to say goodbye.
Bye.